To talk more about this and what potentially Trump president has in store for NATO and security, joined by Joshua Burgin, Warsaw Security Forum. Good to have you on the early edition.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, Josh, I mean, this is the big question here. With all the different morsels of information that we're hearing and looking around, what potentially could Trump mean for NATO? I mean, is it as bad as some pundits make it out to be? What's your theory?
I honestly think that Trump means what three presidents before have been saying now for the better part of 2 decades. European member states need to spend their minimum 2% on their own defense. He says it pay. He uses terminology that I think is very inaccurate. But at the end of the day, the president or the former president of the United States has been incredibly consistent. European members who benefit from the value of the alliance need to come to the table and do their part to support their people, protect their country, and be a valuable member of the team. That is consistently what he said. I know the rhetoric veers into we're going to withdraw from NATO, reconsider our positioning. But at the end of the day, now for 3 presidents of the United States since Bush, through Obama, into Trump, and now even the Biden administration, all asking for the same thing, that European member partners spend their minimum 2%. And countries like Poland, Romania, others that are on the front lines understand this and are meeting those thresholds and exceeding them, while others that have the agency, have large economies, have sort of dithered now for decades.
And now, what, to your mind, are the main concerns for the eastern flank of NATO countries if the U.S. reduces its commitment to NATO?
Well, again, ultimately, I believe this is a bit of a game of chicken. I don't actually believe that Trump will remove the United States from NATO. If we look at the team that is likely to join the Trump administration in the future in areas of foreign policy, Secretary of State, we're not dealing with people that buy into this. These are hawkish foreign policy leaders. These are experienced personnel within government that understand and appreciate NATO, understand the consequences of Ukraine, and are hawkish on Ukraine. And you have other voices within that orbit as well that are concerned that if indeed Asia Pacific becomes a much more consequential destination, that Europe's going to have to stand up and meet the needs of Ukraine, perhaps on its own, not because the U.S. doesn't want to, but because there are finite resources. And if Asia Pacific is suddenly a hot theater, there will not be the latitude for the U.S. to be focused on Europe. Europe is going to need to be in the position to do that itself. We understand that Russia is outstripping all of us, the U.S. and Europe, on 155 production. This, to me, is an absurd reality. We understand that European nation states continue to produce varying specifications for their own internal plans that are not compatible with other partner member states. This is a concern. These are things that we need to address. And for those who talk European strategic autonomy, it's important to have responsibility before you talk about independence.
And I think also you're right on that. And this is, I think, something I found. This goes back, if you dig through all the rhetoric that Trump has said, I think it was April 18th on Truth Social, where Trump, if you look through it, he says, and I'm quoting here, as everyone agrees, Ukrainian survival and strength should be much more important to Europe than to us, but it also is important to us. Get moving Europe. So as you've just said, that is an indication that I think one of the first times that he said Ukrainian survival is something that is dear to him. Looking at how we achieve that, what do you think then, Josh? Because, I mean, there are still very much, I think, certain Reaganites in the Republican Party. They like Poland. What is Poland's role here in trying to convince Trump to stay the course for all this?
Well, I think Poland has a couple of cards it can play. One, geographically, it's critically important. If you look, every president since Ronald Reagan has visited Poland. I don't think that changes. I would offer a slight word of caution. We don't get to choose the leaders of other governments. And so European countries that are going to have to work with the United States, no matter what president's in the White House, no matter what party's in the White House, I think perhaps there should be times of caution when voicing, let's say, public-facing dissent towards individuals you don't like, who might well become the president of the United States. I'm not throwing down a hard marker, but I think it's slightly poor form when foreign leaders sort of throw down negative rhetoric that looks a bit like campaign language. Nevertheless, coming back to Poland specifically, I don't think that the U.S. relationship with Poland will alter it in any way, shape, or form. It is the critical ally on the eastern flank, and there's no one set to replace that geographically, economically, in terms of military preparedness. The United States could only wish to have other members of NATO that are as well prepared and as ready to defend themselves as are Poland.
So now, following your thought and mentioning that Poland is a critical ally, how significant do you think is Poland's current contribution to NATO's defense capabilities in the context of Trump's proposed changes?
Well, I mean, as long has been discussed, Article 5 is the sort of granddaddy, the big benefit that all the NATO member partners look to. However, should there be an incident, should a malign force cross over into a border, go on the attack, these member countries are going to need to stand up stiff resistance for probably 3 to 4 weeks logistically until the cavalry can arrive. It's just a matter of logistics. To that end, Poland is armed to the teeth. Poland has a military that's on track now to have the largest army in Europe, exceeding that of Germany, France, the Netherlands, and perhaps Italy combined. To that end, if other partners along the flank had anywhere near the resources allocated, the percentage of population allocated to their defense, that the alliance would be in a different place. So to that end, Poland is an example. Poland is a net provider of security to its neighborhood, not a net consumer. And we need others, again, those with agency in Western Europe, to be doing the same as many of their Eastern partners along the Eastern flank, Poland, Romania, etc.
But at the same time, we have, as you've just said, very strong and critical members of the alliance, key partners of NATO and the United States, Poland chief among them. But at the same time, in the same area, we have countries like Hungary who are completely not ready to play ball. What do you make of this recent meeting with Stoltenberg, also the new Secretary General Rutte, basically giving Mr. Orban a way out, not to contribute anything for Ukraine? I mean, are we seeing a kind of two-tier alliance system here at NATO form up?
Well, there's a brand of politician that loves to play the media and loves to play the controversy and drama. Am I happy that Orban is visiting Moscow? Not at all. Do I think he's playing that to his own advantage for the drama that goes with it? I suspect so. I'm personally less concerned about Orban's ability to provide security to Europe than I am Germany, France, and the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I share those concerns. But we're obviously not in a position to push Orban further towards Moscow and Beijing, which would be the outcome if we ousted him from either the EU or NATO, most likely. On top of that, if his economy is a relative flea compared to that of Germany and France, then for me, a much bigger concern is why are Germany and France not spending the minimum level on their own defense, while then contributing by extension to their NATO partnership? To me, there was always great shock when Donald Trump would say, we should consider our NATO participation. And there was a virtual silence when for decades, those member countries who had benefited the most, seen their economies grow the most over the last 70 years, were the least willing to spend money on these things. Again, while some of these same European elites would look at the US and say, how do you not have national health care? Well, it's the lack of national health care in the United States has allowed U.S. budgets to ensure that continued defense. I don't want to go too far down that road, but I'm far more concerned about the inability of mainstream, large economy European states to come together and do their piece than I am the rogue Hungary, as much as it bothers me.
Mm-hmm. Joshua Burgin was our guest today. Thank you so much for providing your expert insights.
Thanks for having me on, people. Good to see you soon.